The proof is in the plumbing. I'm over here at Lido Isle. Look at all these multi-million dollar homes. Beautiful, right? I'm really thankful that I get to live here in this area because I I will never ever take going back to living in my car, trying to find random parking lots to sleep in, being broke, fat, out of shape. Like I will never ever go back to that again. And porn was the reason why that that was why I was living that kind of life. And because I'm no longer addicted to it, I've have been able to redirect my life towards being able to do stuff like this, being in shape, living here. So this lesson is titled The Proof is in the Plumbing. Okay. And one of the things that plumbers have to do, and I apologize right now because it's windy and so I'm going to try to adjust the audio, but one of the things that plumbers have to do when they're addressing a leak when they show up on a job site is they have to follow where the source is coming from so they know where they can get started. So for your dependence on pornography right now, it started with a leak. We have to find out where that leak is starting for you. So for some of you right now, your leak is like a full fucking pipe burst right now. So let's address that. Why? Because in order for you to pick the right thing instead and be successful at getting it, one of the methods I use with my private one-on-one clients, we have we have to know what caused you the most amount of pain that made you turn to pornography so that you can find out what your strongest motivator is that makes you turn towards amazing stuff for your life. It's like going in the opposite direction. So every action has an opposite and equal reaction. You might have heard that before. That's Newton's law of motion. And what does that mean? Well, whatever pushes you in one direction to watch porn has the same power to push you in the opposite direction of why you would not watch porn. So they have this. Let's go down to the beach. So they have this thing called Newton's cradle. If you've ever seen it before, it's like usually sits on desks, but it's basically like four like metal ball bearings, and they're hanging by a string. And if you pull two of those spheres back and let them go, it usually hits them and causes two more to go in the opposite direction. And then they swing back, and then it just like is like a pendulum. It's like just a cycle of going back and forth. So this is kind of like a math equation. If we can find out what caused us to watch porn that got the spheres moving in the wrong direction in the first place, then that means that we can figure out what the opposite is and go in the opposite direction. And we can even find out what are some stronger forces that can cause us to go towards the positive things in life and never go back towards porn, like what I was able to do. Now, I know some of you are probably thinking, "Ah, yeah, I know, but I started watching it because I was bored, or I started watching it because, it felt good." And I like that. That's a really good observation, but we're going to go deeper than that. Today is about finding out the root, not the surface level trigger, okay? Not the excuse. But what we're trying to find out instead is the first emotional seed that started this behavior. Because remember, we are here to learn how to redirect your energy, your obsessive behavior into something better for your life. So let's go back to the plumber example. Where is the leak coming from? Well, let's do a quick reflection, okay? And this is your journal question for today if you're in the course. Don't overthink this, okay? Just think what comes to mind or write down what comes to mind. So this is your journal exercise, okay? I want you to close your eyes, okay? Or just pause and think. And I want you to ask yourself, when did I first start watching pornography? What was going on in my life at the time? What was I feeling that I didn't know how to process in that moment? And what did porn give me in that moment that I didn't feel like I had in my own life? Write that down. Pause this video if you have to, but write that down. Now let's attach a common label for everything that we just wrote down. What are some common leaks that start someone off in watching porn? I'm going to give you some ideas. And by the way, you might have more than one that you identify with, but let me give you some ideas. Depression or numbness. So you didn't feel much of anything. And porn was kind of like a jolt for you, as a quick rush. It's a fake spark. Trauma or pain. So somebody or something hurt you. It was a betrayal, abuse, abandonment, and porn became an escape hatch for you. Um, Loneliness and rejection, so you didn't feel wanted, right? Porn felt safe. Nobody could reject you because you were just clicking on a video, whichever one you chose. It gave this illusion of intimacy. Stress or pressure in life got overwhelming. So work, school, family, and porn was an easy release valve. Um, Boredom, lack of purpose, right? You didn't have a mission, no direction. Porn was just something to do when you had nothing to chase. So think that's a I think that's a fair amount. Oh, another big one. Almost forgot this. Self-image and shame. So you didn't feel attractive. You didn't feel worthy. Porn let you kind of like fantasize a different reality of where you actually were in life. So I think it's good. So pause here, and I want you to think which of these feels closest to your story. Remember, it might be a mix of more than just once, and that's okay too, because the goal here isn't to beat yourself up. It's to say, ah, that's what I was trying to fill. So once you name the leak, you can fix it. And here's the thing: you turned to porn because something in your life was not being met. Something was unmet. So you needed comfort. You needed an escape. You needed a sense of control over it, right? So great. Now that we know what force kind of pushed us in the wrong direction, now we're going to flip that right back and we're going to find the opposite to move in the right direction because the opposite force of that should move us in the right direction, right? So if your root was loneliness, maybe the redirection is finding a community. If it was boredom, maybe it's finding a passion or a purpose. If it was, you were ashamed of yourself, maybe it's rebuilding your confidence and establishing a new identity. This is why I say to people, don't fizzle out watching porn because you got to use that energy, save it, harvest it because it's your clue to what your soul actually needs. I don't mean to get deep or anything like that, but it's true. So this is kind of like part 1 of 2. Right now, we just wanted to figure out what was the thing that caused us to go in the wrong direction. But in the next lesson, we are going to talk about how can we make sure that we choose the right thing, the right opposite action, so that we can start moving in the right direction. Because you don't want to. I'm going to give you 3 tests on the next lesson on how to decide if that thing that you're thinking is the opposite one is the right thing to choose. Okay, so I'm excited to share that with you. Okay. Yeah, continue to work on that journal question. Really think about that, what pushed you in the wrong direction. So this way you have the right answer. And then we can use that right answer to find the opposite. And this is what starts us in finding out, what are some of the things that we can start chasing instead of like being addicted to pornography. Because like I said, I would much rather have this life than being addicted, stuck, broke, fat, out of shape. So I'm excited to share this second part of how do you know what the opposite is. All right. I'll talk to you soon.